Picture a dead man's mouth. There is a coin under his tongue. Not for wealth, not for ritual, for a passage, because without that coin, his soul will be stranded on the wrong side of a river forever, not alive, not properly dead, just stuck. That single detail tells you everything about how the Greeks imagined death. They did not imagine it as a blackout. They imagined it as a crossing. Not the end of the story, not peace, not oblivion, a crossing into a system. And that is the first thing to understand about the Greek underworld. It is not random, it is not chaos, it is ordered, ancient, cold, and once you enter it, it starts doing something to you immediately. It strips you down, it separates you from the living, it judges what you were. And then it decides what kind of dead thing you get to become. The real horror of Greek death is not that you keep suffering forever, not even that some souls do. It is that death does not erase you, it reveals you. When a person died, something left the body. The Greeks called it the psyche, the soul, and in that moment, the human being split apart. The body stayed behind. The soul moved on. Not as nothing, not as a full living person either, something thinner than that, something cut loose from breath and flesh and warmth, the shape of a person, but already losing some of what made that person alive. And that soul did not wander aimlessly into darkness. First, it was guided. This is where Hermes enters the story. Not Hermes the clever thief, not Hermes the fast-talking messenger. Hermes the psychopomp, the guide of souls, the god who could move between worlds, who led the newly dead toward the place they could not come back from. Even here, at the very edge of death, the Greeks imagined process, direction, structure. The soul was not abandoned to chaos. It was escorted. But being guided did not mean being saved. It meant you were already on the road. And the road led to the river. Different traditions name different rivers, often the Styx, sometimes the Acheron. The details shift. The image does not. There is water, there is a boundary, and there is a ferryman waiting on it. Karen, old, severe, unmoved. He does not welcome you. He does not comfort you. He takes souls from one side to the other, and he expects payment. That coin under the tongue. That is why burial mattered so much in Greek thought. The coin placed with the dead was not decoration, it was passage. Without proper rites, without burial, without the living doing what they owed, the soul could be left stranded at the bank of that river for eternity. Not alive, not properly among the dead, not gone, but unable to arrive. The Greeks found that deeply disturbing, and they were right to, because it means death was not just about what happened to you. It was also about whether the living honored their obligations to you. Funeral rites were not symbolic niceties. They were duties. The dead still depended on the living one last time, and if the living failed, the soul paid for it. Once the crossing began, the soul moved deeper into a world built to reduce it. The underworld does not just hold the dead, it transforms them. It takes the person who lived upstairs in sunlight and noise and appetite and turns that person into something quieter, weaker, more shadow than self, and then comes judgment. 3 judges sit among the dead, Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Aeacus, once mortal men, now given the authority to assess every soul that arrives before them. Not every version of the myth describes this process the same way, but the broad idea is clear. The dead are not all treated alike. You are weighed, you are sorted, because all the protections of life are gone now. Your wealth is gone, your status is gone, your beauty is gone, your title is gone. No family name follows you across that river with enough force to save you. No flattery works here, no power can lean on the scales. Death strips away the noise, and the judges see whatever was actually there. The world of the living is messy, unfair, corruptible. The underworld is not. Most souls do not go to glory. Most go to asphodel, the fields of asphodel. And this may be the most unsettling idea in the entire Greek vision of death, because asphodel is not torture. It is also not joy. It is something quieter than either, something flatter. The dead there are shades, pale versions of themselves. They still exist, but weakly. They drift, they remember, but dimly. They are not nothing, but they are no longer fully someone. Asphodel is survival without fullness, continuity without weight. You are still there, but thinned out, reduced. And Greek myth does not present this as an extraordinary tragedy reserved for a few unlucky souls. It presents it as the ordinary fate of the ordinary dead. For most people, death is not fire. It is fading, not a scream, a dimming. That is far more disturbing than a simple afterlife of reward and punishment, because it suggests that what is precious about human life is not moral innocence or divine favor. It is aliveness itself. The body, the senses, the heat of being here. Take that away, and what remains is a shadow. For the exceptionally virtuous, there is Elysium, a better fate, a brighter one, a place of ease and peace reserved for the rare dead who earned something more than the common lot. But the Greek imagination stays severe. Even here, Elysium exists. It is not handed out cheaply. It is not the default. It is the exception. And knowing it exists may be the cruelest part of asphodel. Not that you suffer, but that something better was possible, and you did not reach it. And then there is Tartarus, not just the abyss where the titans are imprisoned, also the place of punishment for souls whose crimes were so monstrous, so arrogant, so offensive to moral order that ordinary death was not enough. The punishments here are not random acts of divine cruelty, they are reflections. Sisyphus cheats death. More than once, he manipulates the system itself, trying to outsmart the limits every other human being must accept. So the underworld gives him labor with no finish, a boulder up a hill again and again, forever. He made a life out of refusing finality, and now finality never arrives. Tantalus commits one of the most grotesque violations imaginable. He kills his own son and serves the flesh to the gods at a banquet. So he becomes need without relief. Water he cannot drink, fruit he cannot reach, appetite without satisfaction, forever. Different crimes, different shapes, but the same principle. What you chose becomes what you are trapped inside. The shape of your life hardens into the shape of your death. Justice here is not rehabilitation, it is revelation made permanent. What exactly is a person after death in Greek myth? Not nothing, but not fully themselves either. A shade can remember. A shade can sometimes speak. In the rare myths where a living hero descends and offers blood to the dead, the shades can briefly regain a sharper awareness. They can recognize, they can grieve, they can hunger for what they lost, but they are diminished. The dead in Greek myth are not vibrant ancestors standing in some perfected afterlife, waiting in wisdom and light. They are reduced beings, thinner copies, outlines of the people they once were. The structure remains. The force is gone. And this is the point. The underworld is not just a myth about death, it is a myth about life. It tells you what the Greeks thought made life valuable in the first place: warmth, breath, memory, action. the ability to choose, the body moving through the world. The underworld is what remains when those things have been taken back. The Greeks did not imagine death as a place where everything becomes meaningless. They imagined it as the place where everything becomes clear, where no title can save you, where no performance can protect you, where the truth of what you were is all that remains. And somewhere, right now, on the wrong side of a river, a soul is still waiting for a coin that never came, forever.